I've been a writer for over 15 years, and in that time, I've experimented with all kinds of writing tools. Hardware, software, everything from analog notebooks to the latest apps. I'm something of an optimizer, so I do research, compare products, and don't keep anything that doesn't serve my process. These are my favorite writing tools. If you want to check any of them out, you'll find everything linked in the description. Of course, the tool does not the writer make, but these tools might just make your writing process faster, easier, and more fun. Scrivener is a word processor built for writers by writers. As such, it has just about every feature you could possibly ask for. Word count targets, board view, outline view, screenplay mode, revision mode, split screen, status tags, labels, past version snapshots, comments, and so much more. I won't even attempt to cover everything you can do with it, but suffice to say, I've never found myself wishing for a feature it doesn't have. Because of how many features there are, there's a bit of a learning curve, but all the essentials are pretty intuitive. And if you want help getting acquainted with the full range of what Scrivener can do, their own guides can help, as can plenty of tutorials online. Let me know if you'd want me to make one. To me, perhaps the most important part of any word processor is what the writing experience is like, since that's where I'll be spending most of my time. This is one of my favorite things about Scrivener. Composition mode is beautifully minimal and customizable. You can set any color as the background and change the font scale, text width, and text color. You can choose for every line, sentence, or paragraph other than the one you're writing to be dimmed for even greater focus. I've been asked multiple times, both in person and in comments, what software I use to write because of how simple and aesthetic composition mode looks. I value customization greatly, and so does Scrivener. You can create themes to change the colors and fonts of the interface, and there are options to customize all kinds of behaviors and defaults. You can even choose what's in the toolbar and where. Scrivener also does a way better job of handling very long documents than Word or Google Docs, an important consideration for novelists. Kind of funny that both Word and Docs are run by multi-trillion-dollar tech giants that somehow can't figure out how to load a novel in a timely manner. Scrivener is fast, reliable, and works offline. For any writer, those practicalities matter far more than beautiful design or flashy features. So what are the downsides? If you're a collaborative writer, Scrivener is probably not for you. The only novel I've co-written, I wrote in Google Docs. It's not a great word processor, but for collaboration, it gets the job done. Ellipsis looks like a good alternative built with creative writers in mind, though I haven't personally used it for a book yet. If you like writing on your phone, there is a mobile version of Scrivener, but it costs extra. Since I rarely use my phone to write fiction, I can't attest to the quality of the mobile experience. If you want a simple, no-frills writing workspace, Scrivener isn't that. Although, again, its composition mode can make for an ultra-minimalist writing experience. It comes down to your personal taste and workflow. Scrivener works perfectly for mine. One of my favorite writing tools, especially during the editing process, is ProWritingAid, the sponsor of today's video. ProWritingAid is a digital toolkit for storytellers. It integrates directly into wherever you write and gives you detailed, useful feedback on your manuscript. You can run over 25 reports on your writing, covering everything from sentence-level style and clarity to plot-level pacing and character arcs. Manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader are some of their best features. I've been working on my upcoming sci-fi novel, Catalyst of Control, for 6 years, and these reports pointed out plot holes and issues I never would have realized otherwise. It's not a replacement for human beta readers, but in my experience, it's an invaluable supplement. It caught things even my most eagle-eyed beta readers missed. If you're looking to publish your work, marketability analysis gives you useful tips on where your book fits in the market and how to sell it. ProWritingAid gives detailed, actionable insights into your writing, how dynamic your prose is, what words you overuse, how your dialogue flows. You'll learn a lot about your own style, what you excel at, and what you can improve on as a writer. In addition to reports, ProWritingAid helps line-by-line editing, pointing out awkward phrasing and grammatical errors. You can see sentence length charts, find cliches and redundancies, identify which sensory details you're overlooking. You can use it to time your writing sessions. All of it happens directly in whatever writing app you use, like Word, Google Docs, or Scrivener, which makes it convenient and easy to use. And your writing is completely secure. ProWritingAid uses bank-level security to keep your writing safe, and your work is never used to train algorithms. You can start using ProWritingAid for free at my link in the description. Your book will thank you. I mean, if it could, it would. If you upgrade to a yearly license, or get a bundle of 10 story credits for advanced manuscript analyses, use my code Grayson20 for 20% off. I use Notion to run my entire life. That is not an exaggeration. In Notion, I outline my books, track writing progress, journal, manage tasks, schedule and write my videos, take notes, keep inspiration, plan trips, manage finances, track what I'm reading, watching, and listening to, and keep notes on my health, style, tech, learning, goals. You name it, it has a place in Notion. Past, present, and future, business and personal, everything exists in one unified workspace. It's so much better than any system I've tried in the past, and I've tried a lot. Having everything from my book outlines to a database of my favorite artworks in one place is so useful. Especially with the structured system I've built, I never have to wonder where I've put a certain note or where I saved an important link. For writers in particular, Notion is great for building world wikis, tracking writing sessions, creating mood boards, outlining your plot, and planning the steps from drafting through publication. I'm probably going to make a full video at some point about how I use it because my system is way too thorough to get into in this video. If it sounds overwhelming, remember that you don't have to use it the way I do. Part of the beauty of Notion is that it can be just about whatever you want it to be. The founders have described it from the beginning as Lego for software, a system of interconnecting blocks you can rearrange however you see fit. As a Lego fan, they're speaking my language. These days, Notion is pushing itself as an AI and enterprise software company, but you can basically ignore that. In 2026, every tech company has to act like they're building digital god and empowering other companies doing the same if they want investors to like them. Their free personal plan has all the essential functionality, and you can just not use any of their AI tools if that's not your thing. One thing I don't love is how limited Notion's overall visual customization is. You have light mode, dark mode, and 3 fonts to choose from. Kind of ironic, considering Lego parts have been produced in over 100 different colors. So I built a solution, a free browser extension called Notion Customizer that lets you change fonts, background color, border radii, and much more within the Notion interface. You can even use it to hide those pesky AI buttons. I initially created it just for myself, because I use Notion all the time, and have always wanted it to better match my aesthetic sensibilities. My favorite feature of the extension is an accurate word counter, because for some reason, Notion's page word count is hidden at the bottom of a menu, and it's weirdly inaccurate. I mean, it counts contractions as 2 words. That's not how that works. I hope they fix that someday, but in the meantime, I built this extension. It even tracks how many words you've written today. You can click either the total word count or today's count to copy it to your clipboard, which I find useful as someone who tracks writing sessions in Notion. I used to use the Notion desktop app, but unfortunately you can't install extensions onto it. So I've turned a whole browser into, basically, the Notion app by changing the browser's name and icon. I use Vivaldi, which is the best browser replacement for the Notion app that I've found. It's fast, minimal, and highly customizable. The experience is basically the exact same as the Notion app, but with all the added functionality of the extension I designed. Is this overkill? Yes. Is it awesome? Also yes, in my humble opinion. If you want to use my extension, you can get it for free at the link in the description. Sometimes an analog tool is the best tool. I've kept a whiteboard and dry erase marker by my bed for years to jot down ideas that come to me overnight. As I'm sure most writers can relate to, I very often go to bed thinking about my book, and new premises, solutions to plot holes, and creative turns of phrase spring forth in that liminal space between waking and dreaming. A more space-efficient alternative is a notebook and pencil, which I've also used in the past. I prefer the whiteboard mostly because it provides a larger surface area, more room to write, less spatial awareness needed to locate it, and no worrying about flipping to a blank page. Most importantly, I don't need any light. Turning on a lamp, or worse yet, the blue light rectangle of a phone, can disrupt sleep. The whiteboard is in arm's reach, and though my half-conscious scribblings may not make for an exemplary handwriting sample, they're generally good enough to be legible to me in the morning, which is all that really matters. I've been hunting for the perfect Mac productivity app for years. I've tried a lot, but nothing had the right combination of features, design, and customization. So eventually I thought, fine, I'll do it myself. 6 months ago, I started working on Focus Shield, a tool that lives in your menu bar and lets you take full control of your digital environment. You can block apps, set custom notifications, and see where your time is going with detailed screen time charts. You can activate deep work mode or a Pomodoro timer to focus on a particular project. You can set usage goals for an app you want to spend more time in, like Scrivener. You can create routines to block certain apps during certain hours on certain days. And in keeping with my love of customization, you can change all kinds of settings, from the interface font, to the dashboard layout, to default message text. It runs locally on your Mac, meaning you don't need an internet connection and all your data is totally secure. Distraction may be the greatest enemy of creativity, especially in today's day and age. When the very device you use to write is constantly trying to steal your attention away from the work, staying focused for an extended period of time can be a serious challenge. Just like with the Notion extension I built, I started working on Focus Shield as a personal project to solve an issue I had. I would find myself bouncing between different tasks in different apps, trying to juggle half a dozen projects and never landing on one for long enough to make significant progress. It's easy enough to block out a few hours on my calendar to write, but when it comes time, there's always something that seems more urgent, or at least easier. With Focus Shield, I can schedule my days smartly and enforce it. It's become the most valuable tool in my productivity toolkit. Developing this app was a journey. It took way more work than I anticipated, in no small part because I kept thinking of new features I wanted to add, but I think the end product is worth it. It allows you to take control over your digital environment, and consequently your focus, in a way no other tool I've tried does. You can check out more of the app's features, and get it for yourself, at the link in the description. Wireless earbuds might not seem like an invaluable writing tool, but they're an essential part of my writing process. I almost always listen to music when I'm writing. Any pair of headphones or earbuds, wired, wireless, noise canceling or not, will do the job. But there are several features of the AirPods Pro 2 that have come in handy for me. I often write on flights, at co-working spaces, or out and about in New York City, where noise can be a distraction. The active noise cancellation in these earbuds is much appreciated in such environments. Without noise cancellation, you would have to turn up the volume significantly to even hear the music you want to listen to, which runs the risk of damaging your hearing over time. If you're writing in public and want to tune out background noise while staying aware of your surroundings, adaptive mode works well by blending noise cancellation with transparency to let you hear more of the world around you. If someone tries to talk to you, conversation awareness turns down whatever you're listening to. I experience this most often with announcements over the subway intercom. Wireless pairing is lightning fast, as is switching from listening on one device to another. The ability to control volume and change the noise cancellation mode from the stem comes in handy often. Perhaps this goes without saying, but these work best for writers already in the Apple ecosystem. While you can use them with non-Apple devices, you'll lose certain features like automatic ear detection, which pauses media when you take an AirPod out. If you want to listen to playlists I've curated for writing in different genres, check out the Spotify link in the description. As a novelist who's been writing with music for well over a decade, I've made quite a few. Also, if you have a pair, I highly recommend getting a case for the charging case. That may sound entirely redundant, but it can provide protection against accidental drops. The AirPods case is so round and slippery, it's like it was designed to be dropped. And the aesthetic upgrade is nice too, if plain white doesn't match your style. You know how much I love customization. The Books Note Air 5C is a compact e-ink tablet, which I found to be a great alternative to lugging around a full laptop when I'm on the go. This one has a pen and a detachable keyboard, so I can write or even draw wherever I take it. Not that I'm much of a visual artist, but I could draw. Aside from the form factor, the display is what sets this device apart. If you'll allow me to nerd out for a second, e-ink is one of the coolest innovations in screen technology, especially for writers and readers. Instead of using light-emitting pixels like a traditional screen, it uses microcapsules filled with pigments that are manipulated by an electric field. The result is a display that emits no light, functionally just like ink on paper. E-ink started out in black and white, but some modern devices like the Note Air 5C have color, and an optional backlight for when you want a brighter display. The e-ink display makes for a great reading experience. You get the convenience of a digital device on a surface that feels more like paper than a screen. Reading is what I've used it for the most. It makes ebooks feel a little more like physical books. In terms of downsides, the biggest for me is that it runs on an Android operating system, meaning it's incompatible with Scrivener. Arguably, it's Scrivener's fault for not creating an Android version of their app. But it can run Notion, Spotify, Kindle, Libby, and just about every other app I use for reading and writing. And you can use a browser to access any online writing platform. Thanks to Books for sending this over. They're not a sponsor, but they do make some cool products. You can write on just about any functioning device, from a prehistoric typewriter to an overpowered $10,000 wraparound monitor with an ergonomic RGB keyboard. Really depends on your style and your budget. When I started writing novels, I was young enough that I didn't have my own computer. I later got a 2013 MacBook Air, which I used until a mere 3 years ago, when I took a quantum leap forward to the 2021 M1 MacBook Pro. This laptop is definitely overkill for most writers, with 1 terabyte of storage and 16 gigabytes of RAM. I only got the Pro because I edit 4K videos all the time. If you don't need something so powerful, I'd recommend going for the Air or even the Neo if you're looking within the Apple ecosystem. The Pro is portable enough, but those lighter weight devices are undeniably easier to take to a coffee shop. If you'll permit me to get technical about display technology for a second, again, it's one of the reasons I love this laptop, especially for writing. It has an OLED display that allows for true blacks and perfect contrast, something traditional LED screens can't achieve. An LED screen, which you'll find in a lot of devices, including the iMac behind me, uses a backlight to illuminate all of its pixels. Even when part of the screen should be black, some illumination from the backlight still shines through, which is especially noticeable in a dark room. OLED displays, on the other hand, use individually lit pixels, which can turn off completely to achieve true black on screen. This feature really shines, or doesn't shine technically, when I'm using composition mode in Scrivener with a black background. The only pixels illuminated are the words themselves. In a dark room, it's like I'm floating in a void with nothing but what I'm writing. It's about as immersive as it gets. I know pixel technology is super specific and not that important to most writers, but it's actually one of my favorite things about writing on this device. It makes the experience feel just a little more magical. The display also has fantastic pixel density, especially compared to my old MacBook Air, which means everything looks sharp, even if you're staring at the screen from an inch away. Not recommended. And with a 120Hz refresh rate, on-screen motion, like scrolling, is super smooth. You can get these models from a few years ago for much cheaper than the latest generation. Mine has held up remarkably well, and even as a big tech enthusiast, I feel no need to upgrade after 5 years of new models. Right now is not a great time to buy a laptop, thanks to a global RAM shortage caused in large part by AI companies eating up the world's supply of chips like their, well, chips. Just about every tech manufacturer, including Apple, has raised prices recently because of the scarcity, and thus the skyrocketing cost, of memory. All the more reason to buy refurbished devices from a few years back. At the end of the day, your tools should aid your process, not define it. I would be the same writer, albeit a less efficient one, if I switched to only using pen and paper. There's nothing about any of these tools that will suddenly make writing easy, eliminate creative blocks, or take you to the next level of creative success. We care about Picasso's paintings, not so much his paintbrush. That said, choosing the right tools can be the difference between finishing your first novel and giving up in frustration. Technology, or even something as simple as a whiteboard, can go a long way in making the process more enjoyable and streamlined. And the tools we use can have an effect on our work. I think they undoubtedly leave some mark, even if it's hard to pinpoint. If your word processor is cluttered, slow to load, and difficult to navigate, good luck keeping your story on track. Something as simple as how your book's structure is visualized can make a big difference in how you write and edit. I'm an optimizer. I like to research products in depth and experiment with the latest software, all in search of the perfect set of tools for my work. There's no such thing as perfect, though, and I've come to embrace that. What great software and hardware does is recede into the background, letting you focus fully on the art itself. You might find some shiny new app bursting at the seams with bells and whistles. Sounds great, but if the design or the features distract from the heart of the work, it's not a good fit. What I love about Scrivener's composition mode is that it creates the purest, most distraction-free writing experience. You see nothing but the words, and the words are all that matter in that moment. One of my favorite things about Pro Writing Aid is how it integrates seamlessly into your word processor of choice, letting you switch from writing to editing without having to move to a different app. And I built Focus Shield, of course, for the purpose of eliminating distractions and aiding concentrated work. All of these tools I use help me focus on creating what matters most. And they're tailored to my tastes, as a novelist / content creator / tech enthusiast who puts a high value on useful features and customization. You might find something like Scrivener overwhelming, or not care about something as nerdy as the refresh rate of your writing device. That's totally valid. Especially if you're just starting out in a creative practice, you don't need to buy all the fanciest tools. In fact, it's usually better to start out with something simple. If all you know is Google Docs, start writing with that. If you have a composition notebook and a pencil set, ditto. Many of my earliest works were written by hand, even some of my more recent short stories. I only moved on to more advanced software and hardware as my process evolved, and as I learned what suits me best as a writer. If you know what suits you, finding the right tool can take your writing process to the next level. All of the tools I've shared today have greatly improved my writing experience and workflow. They might do the same for you. If you have any recommendations of your own, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Thanks to Pro Writing Aid for supporting this video, and for being this channel's first ever sponsor. I've been getting sponsorship offers for years now, but I've always wanted to wait until I could partner with a company whose product I actually use and love. Again, you can use my link in the description to sign up for free. It helps out the channel, and you'll be doing your book a favor. Thanks for watching.